Welcome back to OSHA Training Elite. This is the fifth video as we are discussing the common hazard. So before we discuss work at height, now this is the excavation. What is the excavation? Excavation is the process of removing the earth by any way, rock or other material from the side to create an open space, cavity or hole in the ground. It is commonly used in the construction, mining and the archaeological projects. Excavation can vary in size and depth and include the trenches, pits or tunnels. It is all we are going to mining in our earth, that all as considered as a excavation. So what are the main hazard for the excavation? Undermining adjacent or structures, hazardous atmosphere, overrunning of the vehicle. If you are working in the ground or over of the vehicles are moving, ground service, access and egress, fall of material, fall of person, contamination, collapse and flooding. That all are the hazard which we are facing once we are working in excavation. So what are the excavation controls? Preventing the collapse through the shoring, branching of the battering with the sides, search of the underground services to period the work, commencing and hand the dig where the required, barrier and edge protection to prevent the people and vehicle getting to the close, inspection before each shift of the qualified land surveyor, and then competent workforce, competent person for the excavation. So let's see one video about the excavation as well.
Excavation works. Protection from underground utilities. We all know that several utilities may be present underground, such as electric cables, water pipelines, gas pipeline, sewage pipeline, other communication cables. These utilities may get damaged or cause harm to us if not properly identified and isolated. Before starting any excavation, your supervisor will take a work permit for necessary areas that are to be excavated. This will ascertain the presence of underground utilities, and if they are present, then such utilities are properly isolated. This permit is given by the section in charge, and it is a clearance to start excavation and the corresponding safety precautions to be taken. Based on the work permit, your supervisor will instruct you take one or more of the following precautions depending on site conditions. Locating underground utilities using markers and drawings. Locating utilities using advanced equipments such as cable avoidance tool. Making trial pits to check the presence of utilities, etc. Isolating the services. Your job is to follow the instructions of the supervisor carefully while doing excavation. Do not forget to use insulated tools and tackles during excavation to prevent accidental contact with power lines. Still, if you come across any symptoms of presence of utilities, immediately stop the work and report to your supervisor.
So that all was about excavation. Let's next hazard, confined space. What is the confined space? Confined space is that location where the less access and egress point, no proper ventilation, no proper lighting, illumination, and as well lack of oxygen and other presence of the gases H2SO, hydrogen sulfide. So these all things as well as considered as the confined space, wherever is all things, any vessels, tanks, that all is as have no proper ventilation, no lighting, no proper access and egress, undergrounds, tanks, that all as considered as a confined space. So what are the hazard in the confined space? Hazard associated with the confined space, flammable substances and oxygen enrichment leading to fire and explosion, oxygen deficiency, liquid flowing into the space, free flowing solids and regular substances, presence of the excessive heat. Heat as well as their temperature is increasing. There will be no ventilation, also the heat increasing. Oxygen is mandatory for our breathing. So what is the normally we have to consider in our confined space oxygen presence more than 19.5 and less than 22.9, that is a safe zone of oxygen for the human. Minimum we can go 16, less than 16 shortness of the breathing, unconsciousness and other many more health effect. Above the 22.9 like 23 and more than, that is also enrichment which is the can adverse effect on our health. So between the 19.5 to 22.9 we have to do the work. So wherever we have to do the work on confined space, we must have to take care for our proper access and egress. Should be gas tested done, hydrogen sulfide 10, less than 10, oxygen like above the 19.5 or 19.5, and other gases should be zero like carbon dioxide or other combusted gases should be zero. So gas tester you should know how to use, and then the permit as well is required for the confined space. Without the permit is not allowed. In the permit there will be proper details, what is the exact location, what is the time period, and who will be do this kind of the activities. Only competent person should do this kind of activities. And then as well, who is issuing the permit? Your safety officer. They must have to check their gas test. They have to done, check the oxygen level, check the hydrogen levels, hydrogen sulfide, carbon dioxide, and other all combusted gases. They should must be proper test taken, and they have to write on that work permit. Then you have to check it should be between 19.5 to 22.9, and hydrogen sulfide 10 or less than 10, carbon dioxide 0 or other gases should be 0. Then you can go for the confined space work. Or either if there is no illumination proper, they have to arrangement for the lights. And then if there is more heat, so reduce the working time, and as well as if they can arrange, they should arrange for the proper ventilation. If there is ventilation, then heat will be reduced. Let's see the one video about the confined space.
Confined or enclosed spaces are potentially dangerous places. They may be tanks, silos, pipes, or anywhere you could be trapped. They are places where you could be affected by lack of breathable air, extremes of temperature, gas or dust, or loose powders or liquids that might engulf you. Before entering, you should know what the hazards are and how they will be controlled. You'll need a permit to work. How can you safely access an egress? Is there adequate ventilation for the work to do, like welding, painting? Is there adequate lighting? A safety plan should be in place to rescue an injured person. A safety attendant staying at the entry point should monitor all activities near to and within the location, but should under no circumstances enter the confined space. Almost all workers who die in confined spaces are trying to rescue other workers who fainted due to lack of oxygen or exposure to toxic gases. Don't just step in. Stop and think. A trained rescue team with breathing apparatus and other suitable PPE should be on standby. Throughout the job, there should be constant visual or voice communication between the safety attendant and the persons working inside the confined space. Ensure there is adequate ventilation. And ensure you have a personal gas monitor. Be aware that disturbing sludge or water on the ground may release toxic gases. Oxygen levels should be constantly monitored, especially if hot work is taking place. Barriers should be placed around all entry points to keep others away, and only authorized and trained persons may enter a confined space or act as a safety attendant. Are you prepared?
As we saw in the video, so all diesel tanks, this kind of that, all confined space, we make sure we have work permit, and after work permit we make sure the whole watcher, confined space watcher, standman person should be there, and they are monitoring the proper their login sheet, like attendance. If someone is going inside, they must have to do the sign and name and their timing, and once they are coming back from that confined space, it should again out time and signature. Then we can control their attendance. So confined space controls: avoid to enter if you can job be done from the outside. Test monitor air toxic and flammable wipers and other briefs. Operator permit work system, emergency arrangements, standby person raising the alarm, provide the PPE such as breathing apparatus, and the rescue harnesses. Must be supervisor responsible for safety. Are people trained and physically able? Isolation of the mechanical and electrical equipment and pipe work. Provide us special tools and lighting, non-sparking, low voltage. Provide the adequate ventilations. Emergency for the confined space. Confined space emergency communication, how the emergency is communicated from the inside to outside. Rescue and requisitions equipment, breathing apparatus, lifeline, firefighting equipment. Capabilities of the resources, well trained in use of the equipment. Shutdown, adjustment, planned during the emergency. First aid procedures, good equipment and sufficient well trained people. Local emergency services, how will be informed that all things should be placed and proper managed. Then work equipment are tools, hand tools are power tools, that also mandatory we have to keep maintain and should be safe, used proper tool for the proper work. Hand tool, hammers and wrenches, power tools, angle grinder and drills, machinery, leather and milling machines, operators, fans and breathing operators, lifting equipment, cranes, forklift and slings, personal protective equipment, PPE. So these are our mandatory things which we have to use in our construction work. So first we have to take care should be proper, appropriate according to activity. Working equipment, right tool for the right job is the must be. Suitable for use, inspection and maintenance, isolation, lacking of the dispersion of the energy, competent person, safe environment, permit to work, user check, segregation, safe access and perception of an PPE. Movement of the vehicle. Before proceeding for the movement of the vehicle, we have to check one video for the work equipment.